Ukraine, I was reading an article how people are using Bitcoin to like basically send money for aid to people living out there to be able to help because the banks.
Hey, what's going down? I want to stop things really quick and let you know I've been thinking about you. So at the beginning of the year, I always get calls from different coaches and business owners that want to really maximize their online brand and turn their followers into paying clients, but they just don't understand how. So I went back and I studied the industry, and I noticed a lot of different coaches are offering different online programs that ultimately are leaving business owners stuck after the program because the business owner still doesn't truly understand what they need to do in order to build their online brand presence. So what I did was I created a 10-week learning plan. Now this 10-week learning plan is specific for your business where we work together one-on-one and I'll walk you through how you're able to turn your content into leads and sales, bringing your customers down a full journey. Now this learning plan is going to walk you through everything you need to know. So it's no more jumping from YouTube video to YouTube video trying to figure all this stuff out yourself. Now if you want to learn more about this learning plan, go ahead and click the link below and I'll talk to you soon. Hey, what's going down? Welcome to another episode of the Connections Hub podcast, where we connect you to everything business related. Now, I got a really special guest for you guys today. We're going to be talking about this digital world, digital currency, digital money, and all things digital with my man, Alula. And I don't want to steal his thunder, so I'm going to go ahead and let him take it over.
Awesome. Thank you, Jha. It's great connecting with you. And so my name's Alula Zeryihun. I'm a tax technology consultant by day. I work for a company called RSM US LLP, and then I also go by the moniker or nickname My Crypto World. So I've been in the digital asset and crypto space since 2016 when I first heard about crypto from my younger brother, and just happy to be here and to share any knowledge and experience. So.
No, definitely. I'm excited. I'm excited for this. So. Before we really jump into it, I want to start, how did you get in the crypto world? Or first, let's start here. What is this crypto world that you speak about? What is crypto, blockchain? What's the difference about that?
Yeah, great question. So I think, especially today, there's so many, different types of digital assets and cryptocurrencies and, things that we read about all the time on the internet and everything else. But really, to understand what blockchain is or like what is behind this crypto movement that we're seeing today in the world, we have to look back at Bitcoin. And so back in 2009, there was kind of a concept that was released to the world, an idea that you can have, using the internet, an ability for individuals to send value amongst themselves and to be able to have financial systems where individuals are interacting with each other without the need for a bank or a central government or anyone in the middle, basically. And what empowered them to do that is actually the system behind all of the transactions. It's a ledger, basically. It's an ability to keep a record on there to show that Alula sends Jha 1 Bitcoin, everyone in this network is seeing it. And then basically the ability to cheat the system being so difficult and so great that it's almost, if not impossible, to basically do. And so having a system basically that allows individuals to have these types of transactions is kind of where it all started. Fast forward to today and everything in between, it's also morphed into kind of basically a space where people are creating different types of applications where they're taking the same concept of being able to remove a bank out of the equation. So if you can get rid of a bank, or you can have financial transactions of trillions of dollars in value between individuals using the internet without any bank or any third party really being in the middle, then you can potentially remove all types of middle people, basically. And so we've seen everything from decentralized ownership of businesses starting to form, to art, NFTs, to music, to pretty much every facet of our lives basically being kind of potentially impacted with this new technology in a positive way, basically.
No, definitely. And so what got you into the space? You said your little brother introduced you to it.
Yeah. Sorry, I might have kind of skipped over. Yeah, so like what really got me into the space was in 2016. My younger brother basically was working for a really big company at the time, and he had contacted me and said, "Hey, I had a dream about Bitcoin, and I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to get into this whole like space." And he was really like, he's a visionary type of person, right? I really respect his views. And so when he told me that, I was like, wow, this is pretty crazy. I thought he was out of his mind. Like, why would you give up a good job for this like criminal money, this thing that's like, like I had like a very little understanding of what Bitcoin was. And so anyway, I started kind of reading about it, and then I was also studying accounting. I studied accounting and finance at Cal State Northridge, so go Matadors. And so I was studying accounting. I was sitting in an audit class, and I'm like reading about what an auditor does and what the purpose of an audit is. And then at the time, I was reading also the Bitcoin white paper, and it was talking about kind of this blockchain system that allows individuals to be able to operate in a trustless environment, because basically there's no way that anyone could cheat the system, because you'd have to cheat, the records on like the transaction that you're cheating, and then you also have to change all of the information before you, and all of the information has to sync up. And it's just like when I started reading about like I know it's
hold on, I gotta stop you really quick. So
yeah.
First, let's go back a little bit. White paper, for the viewers that may not know, what would you describe a white paper? You said you looked at the white paper.
Yeah, so it's just like basically think of it like a kind of like a business proposition for something, right? Like white papers are like today they have like roadmaps for NFTs, right? So some of the viewers that like have gotten into NFTs, you'll see roadmaps. It's just like kind of a white paper is more of like a very like detailed plan of how something is supposed to be structured, and all of like the facts that people need to know in order to like create something, and just like the plans for it basically. So it's like the blueprint.
Right. So we're checking this out. So, and then fast forward a little bit. You said that if you wanted to change something on the ledger, correct me if I'm right, you would have to go back and change this, change that. Is it possible to change anything? Is this, like a bank transaction? When you go to the bank, I swipe my card, I can look at my transactions on my app, and it shows me I spent $8 at Kroger. I can't change that. That's just what happened. Is that the same thing with the technology, or how does it differentiate?
It differentiates in a lot of ways. So like in the example with your bank card and Kroger, the record for that transaction is, your bank has your account, right? They have your balance. They know like all of the information about you, and they're basically like the custodians for your money. You put your money in the bank, and then the bank takes your money, and then they do what they do with it to run their business, right? With Bitcoin, it's different, right? So the idea is, first off, the ledger, the blockchain. So if you could think, there's an example, one of my mentors actually, Sam had told me about this right here, and this is a great example. It's the Isle of Yap, and it's an island where you have all these individuals that are living on this island. And for them, their monetary systems are big boulders, basically, that they use, right? And they have big boulders, and so whoever has these rocks right here, they're able to keep records of these on their big tablets or whatever, of all the transactions that they're doing amongst themselves, right? So everyone is keeping records, right, on their ledger, and everyone is putting all this information. When I'm selling you like some trading with you some of my like corn or whatever, and you're trading with me some of the like meat that you have or whatever, we're writing all these transactions on the ledger, and all the all of the information that we're dealing with is being written on the ledger, and everyone is keeping a copy of the same ledger.
So am I writing it myself? Like,
you're writing it yourself on your ledger, and I'm writing it on my ledger.
So can I write anything I wanted?
No, because our ledgers have to match.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So think of it like this. So for Bitcoin, and that's a bad example as well. So
No.
that might be, and I butchered it up too, but like think of it like this. So with Bitcoin, it's like this, right? So everyone in the blockchain, right? Everyone in this network, right? So every single time someone sends one Bitcoin, every single person in the network will know that account sent Bitcoin to this other account, right? And so the idea is that basically, like when you're looking at, have you heard of Bitcoin mining?
I've heard of mining. Yeah,
okay,
mining.
So the process of mining basically is individuals are running nodes, right? They're running, before it used to be like very simple. It wasn't like it is today, where it costs a lot of money to run a lot of really expensive equipment, but you could run really inexpensive equipment to record transactions that individuals are doing on the Bitcoin blockchain. So every single time someone is doing some sort of activity, all of these miners are competing to be able to say, hey, I'm going to take this transaction and I'm going to prove that it was accurate, and then I'm going to broadcast across the network what happened, and everyone will write it on their record.
Right.
And so now we have basically not just one place where this transaction is being like recorded, it's being recorded amongst the whole network.
Right.
And you have basically a system where all of those transactions are basically recorded everywhere. So if I say, hey, I never sent Jha any Bitcoin, I'm not gonna send this, item that I was supposed to send over, or whatever, right? Like, if I say that, but I did do it, then the transaction is already recorded. And if you say I never sent it to you, but I did send it to you, the transaction already has it. So there's no it's recorded. So no one could argue against the fact that it actually happened.
Okay. So with this technology, because it sounds like a lot. It sounds like, man, I gotta learn something new. I gotta do this. What would you say would be for someone if they hear about Bitcoin, they hear about all these different things? What is the easiest way to get in the game or to just kind of learn more about it?
There's a lot of ways. I would say if you want to start, there's a really good. I'd say there's a good book. The Bitcoin Standard is a really good book to maybe start with, or you could just go online and just search things on YouTube.
But that's the problem. Sometimes we search things on YouTube
and we get a lot of garbage.
We get all this garbage information, and we're like, okay, is this really the future? Is this really where the world is going? How is this something I can trust? What makes this more trustworthy than me just doing banking the way I've been doing it? And that's a real question, not rhetorical.
I mean, I think that's a great question. And really, when you think about it, it's looking at what this system is representing, what is Bitcoin representing for the world, right? And so we look at we look at today, and you think of even in what happened in Canada, for instance, with Justin Trudeau, regardless whatever the political views are, right? You have basically a government that says, hey, we will take your livelihoods and we will freeze your bank accounts, right? We will, in America that can't happen, but there, they literally stopped, people from having access. A single mother, I heard in one of the examples, making minimum wage, contributed $50 to the campaign or something, and then they ended up basically freezing her bank account, right?
So what was that situation like? They were contributing to?
It was to the trucker convoy or something for what was happening in Ottawa and other places where. So, but the point is though is the fact that you can have individuals stop you from basically, accessing your finances and being able to take your money or freeze your assets. But with Bitcoin is different, right? The idea is that with Bitcoin, a person could have $1 trillion worth of Bitcoin and have that all in the information, the ownership, the keys, the rights to that, asset in a flash drive, and it could be in their briefcase, in their pocket, in their purse, wherever, and they own that asset. So it's basically a financial system that's apart from what we have right now. And when you also look at the way that the U.S. dollar is a central reserve currency, for instance, right? So when you think about it, the U.S. dollar is used to save people's wealth. Imagine if you're a wealthy person living in Nigeria or some other country, and you have different assets and you're holding on to dollars. The U.S. dollar right now, we have almost a $30 trillion deficit, right? It's we're it's not looking good. And so for a lot of people, they look at Bitcoin as a way to hedge against the financial risk as well, because you have an asset that, unlike the U.S. dollar, which is infinite, they can basically print as much as you want. The Bitcoin actually is only, there will only be 21 million Bitcoin in existence, basically. So it's actually a finite asset.
So what happens after that? Is it after the 21 million are out?
They're out.
Everybody's rich. Whoever got it is rich, and we're all left out, or what happens?
No, actually, so really people that really believe in Bitcoin being kind of the future monetary system being built around Bitcoin and stuff. Well, there's people that are called Bitcoin maximalists. I would put myself in that category as someone who thinks that this is really possible, because in the future, first off, Bitcoin will be I think the last Bitcoin will be mined in the year 2124 or something like that.
It's like a process. They're released in a process.
In a process, there's a system behind it, and it's all, that whole system is all driven by math, basically, which is pretty cool. And so it really is. It's today the way Bitcoin is basically China can't stop it, Russia can't stop it, America can't stop it.
What makes it unstoppable, though? Is it the ledger going back to just
well, see, and then so it's not just any ledger. Now we're having fun with this journey right here. So it's a distributed ledger, right? So the idea is this ledger is all over the place. It's all over the world. Any miner, you have people mining crypto in Asia, in Africa, in Europe, and in America, and Central America, all over the world. In Antarctica, probably somebody's mining some Bitcoin, right? So this network is distributed, and so there's no way for anyone to really stop it, because in order to say that, hey, Jha never received that Bitcoin at Alula Center, or Alula has 1 million Bitcoin in his wallet, or to do any like malicious thing, any bad activity, any cheating, right? You'd have to change all of the records on the past transactions before you, and all of the records in front of you have to tie up basically. The way the mathematics piece is, I'm not even going to get into some of that. But it sounds crazy, but it's actually something that really is true. Like it has, I think, like a 99.9999 some crazy number uptime, like the network itself. Like you've had trillions of dollars of money being sent using this network. You've had countries like El Salvador recognizing it as legal tender, where they look at it as an actual currency, as a
and
cash.
That's what I was going to ask you with that. How do you feel about the different, you've seen like the Staples Center, they changed their name, and you see a lot of these different companies. I think I read something about the mayor in New York getting paid in Bitcoin
yeah.
and just kind of backing that whole belief system on, hey, this can really turn into something, or this can really be something. But I wanted to know, so like let's say I have Bitcoin, I got 50,000 Bitcoin.
Ballin'.
I got 50,000 Bitcoin.
Cool.
And you see, that's balling. Is it like 50,000 Bitcoin is $50,000? Like, what's the math on that? Or how do I know exactly how much I really have?
So it's one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin is one of my favorite quotes right there. But like today's value of a Bitcoin, I think it's like today is the day that I think the 23rd. So the day that Russia invaded Ukraine, which is a very horrible thing that's happening. But the markets in general, like stocks and crypto, have been really beat up. I think today Bitcoin's like right around like $35,000 for one. So you times that by 50,000, and then back in the day, for $1 you could have got like maybe 1,000 of these things, right? Like it's crazy, and yeah.
But see, okay. And no shade on Bitcoin, but see, you said it's at 35. I remember at one time it was like they were talking about it's about to hit 50, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So with that volatility and just how do I go from, hey, I can times 50 by 50 to now I'm timesing 50 by 35? Like, where do I go from there? Is this like really a safe market for me to get in, and one day my money might be down? I don't even know how much percent that is. It's a lot.
Yeah, well, so I think it's all perspective, right? Like today, I think like even in the U.S., the amount of people that actually know what Bitcoin is or are actually like invested in it and stuff is relatively low from the percentage of the population. And so when you're looking at kind of like what has driven the price of Bitcoin up over the years, a big part has been like mass adoption, people kind of coming to realization that maybe the US dollar might not be the best place to keep your money. Maybe people also realizing the potential and the utility of Bitcoin, in a sense that there's a finite amount as opposed to an infinite amount, and the fact that, there's all types of other factors as well. But personally, I think that same question that you asked about, like looking back at the value today at 35,000 and being like, wow, it used to only be 50 or $100 or something, or $1, but like, imagine like looking back and saying, wow, it's $1 million today and it used to only be 35,000. Like, dang, that's like a Toyota. I could have bought a Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Like, it's all in perspective, and yeah, but at the same time, like I feel like, and this isn't like financial advice and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
like
we can't give that out.
No, but for me personally, and this is, all views are my own and everything on this too, but like for me, it's I feel like the utility of Bitcoin, like I think like when you think about like the fact that like there's just all types of different applications that it could help with. When you're thinking about like even something as simple as just like people being able to send money on the internet, like right now with what's happening in Ukraine, I was reading an article how people are using Bitcoin to like basically send money for aid to people living out there to be able to help, because the banks.
So what would that? Okay, I think you were going to cover that. Sorry, banks are what?
Because the banks aren't like open. The banks are closed. You're going to have issues with banks, right? If you're going to have money frozen, if there's like all types of stuff because your country's being invaded. But all you need for Bitcoin is internet access, basically. You can send value. All you need is internet access. You don't need a point of sales terminal, really. And when you think about it, you don't need, like, all you need is the internet access. You can send Bitcoin over the internet. Like,
it's
that's
like
powerful.
peer-to-peer. Yeah,
it is peer-to-peer.
It's peer-to-peer, because that was one of my next questions was going to be like, what makes this different than Zelle? But again, Zelle would be, I'm sending money, so it'd be from me to Chase Bank for me and then to you, versus
through Zelle.
Bitcoin is just me and you.
Exactly,
hey,
directly.
This
you direct to an individual.
That's okay. Now I'm getting you.
It's peer to peer,
Yeah.
and yes, and to tie on that whole like over the internet piece too, there's a concept right now of like Web 3.0, right?
Yeah.
So like when you're accessing like a lot of like these crypto blockchain, like websites or whatever, they're usually a lot of them are Web 3. And so what it is Web 1 is basically when the internet first came out and you had the ability to read information that was in there or like send an email, and it's very like one-dimensional type of experiences, or even being able to like do some e-commerce and buy a book on Amazon or something, right? And then Web 2 came, and these are kind of like companies that are like wall gardens, basically. They're like organizations that have put together, kind of infrastructure to allow individuals to post things, to share content, to buy things and interact with communities and all the different types of applications we've seen. And so those are like, a lot of times that's kind of what resulted in like the birth of like big tech, really, right? I mean, it was always big tech, but it's just like the Facebooks and the Googles and all of these kind of are traditional Web 2 companies. And then Web 3 was basically the infrastructure with all this blockchain stuff to allow interoperability. We're gonna do an edit on that
Say
one.
Say that 3 times.
Yeah, interoperability. But anyway, to allow like different types of applications to interact with each other, and to be able to allow individuals to be able to send value over the internet, to be able to have ownership over content that they create. We were talking about like even this episode. I was like, why not make this episode an NFT, right? Like that's what Web 3 enables you to do as well. So
no, for sure, and that's a great segue into what I had next, which is, what is an NFT? All I see is Instagram rappers selling albums, graphic art with artists saying, like, what is an NFT? I think it looks like it's just a logo. So what is it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So NFTs, so we covered blockchain a little bit. We talked about Bitcoin and crypto and the value over the internet, people sending value and all that. So NFTs, non-fungible token, basically means, so cryptos, right, when we're talking about all these coins that are out there, right, they're fungible, right? So they're basically, you can have 1 million Bitcoins or 21 million Bitcoins, excuse me, or you could have, whatever, unlimited amount of Ethereum. Each of them are all the same, basically, right? A Bitcoin is Ethereum, and all these tokens are the same.
Do they all do the same thing?
They're all, like, it's the same, like, for itself, basically. It's fungible. So, like, if I have Ethereum, all my Ethereum are all Ethereum, and they're all the same. Right? If I have Bitcoin, all the Bitcoin is Bitcoin, it's all the same. Like, it's all fungible. They're all the same type. But with a non-fungible token, what it is it's a token that has its own, like, identity associated with it, right? So the most easiest way to think of it is a receipt, right? Think of a receipt. When you go to Starbucks, you buy a coffee, you get a coffee, right? You get a receipt. On your receipt, you got the timestamp, you got the store you bought it, your coffee at, what your order was, all of that information. You come back the next day at the same time and you order, that receipt's not going to be the same as the receipt from the other day. Right? So with NFTs, it's kind of the same thing. It's basically the idea that you could put some sort of content, whatever it is, whether it's digital content like art, whether it's physical content like real world art, whether it's a real world asset like your deed to your home, right? And it's having a digital representation of whatever it is that you want to create, and then having a digital representation of it that is secured by that same network we were talking about with the blockchain and the record being stored on a safe network that can't be broken and all this stuff. But you basically own the content. And so think of it like this, right? Charlie Bit My Finger, famous YouTube video. Hope we don't have to pay royalties or anything for sharing about this, but the video had 1 billion views on YouTube, right? And then the kids from that clip basically ended up creating an NFT. They sold it for $600,000, right, of that same video.
So like, what is the value in me buying an NFT for $600,000? Does it go up in value? Am I getting it because I'm the only one that have it? Like, what's the real value behind me purchasing an NFT?
Well, how important is Charlie Bit My Finger to you? Do you feel that video has potential? Maybe you could market it, you could do something with it later in the future. Like, you own that content, basically. You own that video. If they're giving you, ownership of this asset and you have the full on, and then there's also like technically there's instances where people don't, right? Like Nike's right now in the middle of a huge lawsuit with a company for using the Nike, symbol and all this other stuff and infringing on their copyright or their trademark. But at the same time, right, you could also have it where that's not the case, and so individuals could be able to like own the content to do whatever they want to do with it. If you look at metaverse right now, you see like a lot of, that's a whole space. Like you could have like skins in a metaverse that you're wearing some sort of outfit that for you adds value. Maybe that's how you want to represent, and maybe it's like, you know, it's a status thing also. So there's a bunch of different elements. I feel like a lot of the stuff that we see with NFTs today, there is a lot of like what is it, the Beanie Baby type of thing. You know, there's a lot of that, but then there's also like real world use cases, like the example with Nas. I thought was a really
that was good.
Because you're tying royalties to you know, to the actual thing, or even like the idea, there was a you know, a home that was sold in Miami where they put the deed for the house and all the information is an NFT because that's a secure place to keep it, right? There was a group of individuals in a decentralized autonomous organization, which is called a DAO, that wanted to buy a copy of the Constitution. And they actually raised money as a group.
I think I've seen that.
Right?
I seen it.
And they ended up, and it was a banker that ended up beating them, right? But you know, what was interesting, I made an NFT of that myself. That was one of my NFTs that I made, and I took a copy of the actual Constitution, and I saved the copy of that Constitution on a blockchain distributed network of people that are giving up space on their computers, and they're getting paid in a token called storage, right? Which is a cryptocurrency, so that's a whole new thing, right? But that information is stored on the blockchain, so no one can come in and say, hey, this Constitution doesn't exist anymore, and take it off the blockchain. And I made an NFT that was tied to that. So you could do anything with it, and I think like it's an infinite possibilities. I think today is a really great time to be a creative person. I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for creatives and content creators, and really a time to be empowered. So
no, definitely. And within that NFT space, as any, you just said you just pull something, create. You made it sound so easy. So can I create an NFT if I want?
Yeah, that's the beauty of the whole space. And you know, we could maybe like connect on this and do like a team teach type of thing. But you can go on. Yeah, they have OpenSea, which is super easy to do. Like those are like drag and drop. Learning to code in this space is actually not that complicated either, and there's a ton of resources online. But it's just, you know, if you go on OpenSea, it's like plug and play. You can go on Mintable, it's plug and play. That's one of the big reasons I feel like this has been blowing up lately, as well as that it's a lot easier today for people to just come in and put, you know, their content out there. So
no, that's definitely gonna be a game changer. This has been really, 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 really fun and dope, informative, and you know a lot, man. The tongue tires are deep in this episode.
Indubitably.
The tongue tires are deep in this episode, but about to get out of here in a second. But I just really want to ask again, what would you say someone, if I'm thinking about, hey, I want to get into this whole Bitcoin world, how do I enter? Where do I go? Where do I sign up?
I would say definitely check me out on IG, My Crypto World. I'm gonna just say that, and that's a O instead with a 0. But I would say going online and just finding like reputable people that are sharing stuff online. You know, like you have to like.
No. How do I get started? Like I'm putting in money. I want to get in the game. I want to start investing. I'm ready to start putting in my personal money and buy my own Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like definitely talk to like a financial advisor for like more, you know, because there's everything today. They have everything from like you know, retirement accounts and all types of stuff that you can set up with crypto. And then there's also like, you know, you can get on Coinbase and all these other more like onboarding applications and stuff that are out there if you just want to experiment and kind of learn. And I personally like Coinbase because they have learn to earn. So you learn about the different projects and then you earn crypto in those projects.
Yeah, Coinbase is cool. What did you think about their Super Bowl ad? That was like a crazy thing.
Yeah, no, I thought that was they went from like ranked number 100 and something on the App Store to going to number 2. That was a brilliant like advertising tactic. I bet every single company was probably like, oh, why didn't we think of that? Like,
the only thing, you know, it's funny. It was such a great tactic, but the biggest thing in like my world, in the marketing world, was the site kept crashing.
Yeah.
It was like
no one anticipated that.
So many people to this site, and it just kept crashing. You had to keep loading it. So it was like such a brilliant idea, but like, you know, all the marketers are like, yeah, it was good, but they wasn't ready for the traffic. So it's a funny thing.
It really is. But again, it just shows you like the interest that people have. And I think today, like the cool thing about Bitcoin too is, and just in crypto in general, is like the low barrier to entry. You know, it's like, you know, you don't really need much to be able to participate in this space. Like, and you could, I mean, a Bitcoin could be broken down like
So what you might need much, I can put like $20 in?
You can put $20 in it and whatever you want to do. And then at the same time too, it's like, the ability for individuals to have access to banking and like have financial inclusion, like that's a big thing too with crypto, is that like people living in countries where they don't have the infrastructure for like banking and all this other stuff now have just all they need is a mobile phone. Right. And some internet, that's it. So.
No, definitely. Well, no, thank you so much for all this information. Go ahead and let us know, where can we find you, get in contact with you, and learn more about what you got going?
For sure. So you can find me on mostly on Instagram, My Crypto World with the O. And then also like professionally as well, if anyone's interested in like any like consulting around this space, you can find me at Alula Zeryihun on LinkedIn. Yeah, thank you so much, Jha. It's always a pleasure. So.
No, definitely. We'll have all that in the show notes. But Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Awesome.